Utter piece of junk? Cinematic masterpiece? Or somewhere in the middle? Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1976 to view a movie that meant the world to me in 1976. Yes, folks, I was a 6-year-old kid, and I begged my mother, and I was pleading at the gates. I have to go see this. We're talking about the immortal, the legendary King Kong. Before we go any further, before we dig into this anymore, before we dissect this little gem, more than we probably even should, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
It is 1976. The American merchant vessel Petrox Explorer has just set sail from the port of Surabaya in search of oil. What they find will shock the world.
We may be sailing into the history books.
She's alive!
You know, maybe my luck has changed.
They will discover an uncharted island that is the home of the most incredible creature on the face of the earth. A creature called Kong. Dino De Laurentiis presents the most exciting, original motion picture event of all time. King Kong. King Kong, a fantastic adventure. Open the gate! King Kong. King Kong, unlike anything you've ever experienced before. With Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, and introducing Jessica Lange as the beauty who charmed the beast. And starring the 8th wonder of the world, King Kong.
Okay, everybody, this motion picture was directed by Guillermin. Now, he has been around. He's directed some stuff you're going to recognize, and some good stuff. We're talking Death on the Nile. We're talking Sheena. We're talking Skyjacked, and The Blue Max, and Shaft in Africa, and House of Cards, and Rapture, and for Christ's sakes, The Towering Inferno. So, does he know how to do a big movie? Yes, he does. Does it work here? Yes, it does. Let's move on. All right, everybody, playing Jack Prescott. Rocking a hell of a mane of hair in this motion picture, Jeff Bridges. Let's dig into it. We're talking about he's been in movies like Bad Company and Stay Hungry and Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Come on, you got to know that one. And The Last Picture Show and Heaven's Gate. And, of course, Tron, and The Amazing Starman, and 8 Million Ways to Die, and fucking The Big Lebowski, and The Fisher King, and Crazy Heart, and the remake of True Grit. So, he's been in a lot of shit. Big-time actor, big-time star, came from a big-time acting family. Is what it is. Let's move on. Playing Fred Wilson. Charles Grodin. Come on, you all remember Charles Grodin. Is what it is. Anyway, Here we go. We're talking about he was in Beethoven. He was in Rosemary's Baby. He was in Ishtar. In The Incredible Shrinking Woman. Come on, everybody's got to remember that shit. Jesus Christ. And Midnight Run, which is actually a really good flick. And Seems Like Old Times, which I'm going to review at some point. And Heaven Can Wait. And The Heartbreak Kid. So, was in a lot of big flicks, actually. You know what I mean? Had a good career. Is what it was. Might not be the name and face you remember of a big major star, but was in a lot of shit. Playing Dwan. Yes, like Dawn, but with the letters switched, Dwan, is a very new on the scene at the time, Jessica Lange. Let's kick it. We're talking about she has been in things like Frances and Tootsie, in The Steamy, The Postman Always Rings Twice, and Blue Sky, and Cape Fear, and Rob Roy, and she's having that resurgence now because of that American Horror Story TV show and everything like that, where everybody who didn't know before now gets to know her as an old Jessica Lange. Is what it is. Let's keep going. Playing Captain Ross, John Randolph. Been around. Anyway, we're talking about he has been in stuff like Serpico and Christmas Vacation. Come on, you gotta remember him in Christmas Vacation. And Prince's Honor and Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and a lot of TV show. We're talking the Bob Newhart Show. We're talking Quincy and Matlock and Angie. If anybody remembers Angie, everybody forgets that. And Dynasty and MASH. So, big career. Been in a lot of stuff. Again, not a major name, but you remember the face and you say, I know that guy. You know that guy. Keep playing Bagley. And, God, I hope I don't mess up his last name because I do it 30 years now, and I'm probably not going to ever get it any more right. But René fuck it, you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, let's keep going. We're talking about he has been in stuff like The Jeffersons, and The Rookies, and The Rockford Files, and Chicago Hope, and Frasier, and Judging Amy, and Boston Legal. And of course, he's going to be mostly known for two things. To a lot of you, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Odo. I get it. To me, he'll always be remembered from Benson. He was the perfect foil to Robert Guillaume's character. And it was just a great show. It was a great show. And by the way, he's also done massive amounts of voice work. This guy's voice has popped up in a million things. A million things. He just passed away, actually. Kind of sad. Anyway, René Auberjonois, whatever. Good actor. Always liked him. Is what it is. And also, there's some other faces in this motion picture that pop up that is beyond cool to see, and I'm glad that they were in this motion picture. And they're people that I love to see pop up in motion pictures. We're talking about Dennis Fimple popped up in this thing. You know I love that shit. You're talking Ed Lauter popped up in this thing. You know Jack O'Halloran popped up in this thing. And even Julius Harris popped up in this thing. So, look around. Pay attention. There's a lot of great actors in this thing and a lot of cool stuff. Okay, everybody, I'm going to keep this to 90 seconds or less. So we can keep it fast, keep it quick, keep it entertaining, and keep it moving so we can get to where we would much rather be, the summation. You got Jack Prescott, Jeff Bridges, and he's a paleontologist, and he stows away on this ship owned by the Petrox Corporation, this oil gas company. And what are they doing? Well, that ship's going out to the middle of the ocean under the leadership of one Charles Grodin to go looking at this island that he stumbled across, and he has a hunch. He sold the company on as the top of a very large oil deposit that when they tap into it is just going to make them the shit and the biggest oil company on the planet. Well, Jack Prescott, he doesn't really care about that. He thinks there's a legend of a giant hairy ape on there. So that's why he is stowed away to go off to this island and see what they find. But on the way there, what do they come across? A storm. And in that storm, a yacht blows up. Well, we never really see it, but you kind of put two and two together. And they stumble across, in a life raft, one Jessica Lange, dressed in an evening gown, looking a little bit too hot to be left out at sea, and they pick her up, throw her on board, and go off to the island together. When they get there, they find there's a lot of natives. It's not empty, and there's a giant wall. What lives on the other side of the wall? Well, one in one plate, fucking two. I mean, come on, we can figure that shit out. Anyway, the natives want her to give her to Khan. Everybody say no. But they wind up taking her anyway and giving her to Kong, and then the Petrox boys, along with good old Jack, they decide that they're going to go off and rescue her. By the way, in the middle of everything, they find out that the oil deposits there suck, it isn't good, it'll never work. So Prescott says, well, if I can't bring them oil, I'm going to bring them a tiger in a tank. I'm going to bring them Kong. Largest marketing scheme ever. You get the idea. That's all I got to really say. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's King Kong. Everybody knows King Kong, I think, right? Okay, everybody, let's dig into this little gem. What makes this motion picture great? If this motion picture is great. And that's the catch of this motion picture. There's parts of this motion picture where you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then there's parts where you're like, Let's get the junk out of the way first. The directing. This motion picture looks beautiful. It does. It looks beautiful. The island scenes are beautiful. The city scenes are beautiful. It's shot great. It looks great. That's all you need to know. The writing? It works. I mean, I wouldn't say the greatest words are coming out of everybody's mouths at any moment, but it's solid. It moves the story along. It does well. It's okay. Now, where this motion picture runs into a few problems is the story and the acting. First off, the acting. Jeff Bridges is great. Okay. I'll give him all the props in the world. He does a great job. René Auberjonois, he does a good job. He's pretty cool. And a lot of the other supporting characters do a great job. But Charles Grodin kind of comes off like a buffoon. I'm sure he was written like a buffoon, so he played him like a buffoon, but he's a cartoonish buffoon. Everything out of his mouth is just so over the top. Oh, we're going to get this. I'm going to deliver. It's so ridiculous that at points you're like, this is fucking just ridiculous. What am I? It's just blowing. It's too big. It's too big. It's too big. And it's too much. And then there's Jessica Lange. Listen, people. We all know Jessica Lange can act. She's been in many, many other movies, and she's a fine actress. In this, I'm not sure if the problem is her or what they wanted her to do. Let's face it. The Dwan character is annoying. There's no other way around it. She's a bubblehead. She doesn't have anything constructive ever to say. She's completely just this character that you can't relate to because she's just this Hollywood actress obsessed with becoming a star, and maybe that's what they wanted to do, and she delivered on it perfectly. And if that's the case, then all props. But this was early in her career, and they only had so much for her to work with, and she only had so much to work with. So what's on the screen is a character, and this is where the story's problems comes in, that you don't really relate to, you don't really like. You're supposed to like her because she's the hot blonde in the flick. Basically, that's all there is to it. But do you really like her? I mean, she's just spouting out stupid shit all the time. Again, we'll get to why more. But she's spouting out stupid shit all the time. You look at her like, please, just shut up. I can't tolerate this character. And along with the Charles Grodin character, it gives you like 2/3 of the movie of characters where you're like, I don't know if I like these guys. I just don't get it. Again, you like the Jeff Bridges character because he's the only person with any kind of fucking morals in this motion picture, really. But even he can come off as kind of like a know-it-all dick at times. So that's part of the problem with the story and the writing. But let's knock off the bullshit, really. You're here for one reason and one reason only when you're watching this motion picture. It was the same reason we were all there in 1976 to see this motion picture. And that was the fucking spectacle of this motion picture. And at the time, it definitely was a spectacle. You went there to see King Kong brought into the modern age. And man, did they deliver on that. He, in this motion picture, looks cooler than shit. Yes, we all know it's a man in a monkey suit. Yes, we all know it's a Rick Baker in there. Yes, we know he didn't move around like a gorilla in this one and he walked like a human. I get it. But I will take the version that Rick Baker did way, way, way before I take the version they had in that fucking thing they did a few years ago that was CGI heaven and made me want to spew all over the goddamn floor. That motion picture didn't do it for me. This one, at least on that level with the big bad monkey, totally did. The artwork that went into that, the vibe that went into that, the mask they built, the way when he would blow air out of his mouth, it just looked amazing. And they were doing this within the limitations of 1976, people. I mean, the big mechanical arm that would come in looked great. The monkey suit looked great. The sets looked great. They would combine them together, and it looked great. And that was one of the things that this motion picture really delivered on. The models of New York City as Kong is running around town, hiding behind buildings, which was kind of funny, but it looked amazing. And the build-up to the motion picture is what really sold us all on it to a large degree. I mean, there was all these things they were talking about, all these press releases. Oh, we bought all the black horsehair on planet Earth. Oh, we did this, we did that. We built a giant King Kong, and we have him in New York City. And we got these big King Kong models, and they're life-size. And the hype that went into this was that kind of like, you know, Titanic for its time, whatever type hype, where it was just really pumped up, and everybody had to go see the spectacle of this Dino De Laurentiis production and go witness the magic. Anyway, before I take off out of here, I got 2 side notes about this. One, when I was a kid, I went to this motion picture because I begged my mother to go to this picture. I was obsessed with going to this picture. This picture meant the world to me. And I went, and as a 6-year-old, my mind was blown. It delivered. I had the King Kong puzzle that I took weeks putting together in my room. I had the King Kong game where he was like going up the World Trade Center and all that other kind of stuff, and he would knock the guys down and all that kind of shit. I was obsessed with it. Before Godzilla really came into my life, which was maybe a year or 2 later when I was 8 or 9, King Kong was my monster of choice, and I loved that dude. And number 2, before I take on off out of here, am I recommending this movie as one of the great all-time movies of all time? No. Am I saying this movie is enjoyable and fun? Yeah. But am I saying you have to go into it and understand what you're getting? Yes. Again, this motion picture's a little weird. There's all these weird moments between Kong and fucking Jessica Lange that are bizarre. Every time she's near the big monkey, he looks like a turned-on pervert that is probably going to make you laugh when you see it today's day and age. You really are. With the look on his face and smiling at the girl, you're probably going to laugh. And the fact that every time this giant 60-foot gorilla is holding her, she somehow gets this weird post-orgasmic thing going on where her face is just all lit up and she's like, oh, God. And you're like, is this a bad porno? Because I could make a porno fucking parody of this. That would be the most hilarious thing on the planet. Or somebody should, I shouldn't say me. But you know what I mean. There was moments of it where like, are just weird and comical and over-the-top acting and silly. But at the end of it, you got King Kong, you got Jeff Bridges, you got a beautiful-looking movie. And I'm telling you now, and I know it's a sad subject, the World Trade Center looked amazing in this motion picture. And when he was being shot at by those helicopters, it was gripping and it was awesome and it was just mind-blowing. And when all that shit was taking place, it was at a time when that was one of the big symbols of America, and the buildings were relatively new and they were popping up in flicks like this in every New York City imaginable and Escape from New York. And to see those icons and to see Kong on them and everything like that, still to this day, brings back memories and evokes emotions for me and makes me go, holy shit, man. I remember being there for this, and I remember what that time was like, and it was a mighty awesome time, to say the least. Everybody, be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Take care of a neighbor. Help a friend. Be kind to a stranger. And above all else, never, and I mean ever, for any reason, take any bullshit from anybody. Be good.